What would you ask a three-time Olympic gold medalist? Well, in today's episode of the Brolletts Pod, Colt and I got to do just that as we interviewed Leah Amico, three-time softball gold medalist at the Olympics. We talked all about her process, her routines, how she went from one Olympics to the next, which has a 4-year gap in it, when she also had a baby in between one of them, about how she did it, how she set goals, how she kept getting better, and how she never let getting to the peak stop her from wanting to go higher and higher and higher. We learned all about her process for helping other athletes lock in on the mental side and how you can do the same. This is going to be an incredible episode of the Brolletts Pod. Let's jump in right now. Before we jump in and talk to Leah Amico, I want to tell you all about Arete Shades, and I've got my Team USA hat, the red, white, and blue, and today I want to talk about the red, white, and booms from Arete Shades. These are our red, white, and blue sunglasses right now at areteshades.com. They are 2 for $49, the adult size, and we also have the youth size, which Colt wore all this weekend playing. You can get them right now, 2 for $49 on the website, but you can also win a free pair today if you use the code word GOLD, because we won 3, well, not we, Leah won 3 gold medals at the Olympics. Use the code word GOLD in a comment. The most original, unique, coolest, crazy out there comment with the word GOLD in it is going to win a free pair of Arete Shades. So do that. Listen to the episode. Get really, really cool insights from Leah. Drop a comment with the code word GOLD. Win a pair of the red, white, and booms from Arete Shades. Hope you love this episode. Let's jump in to this episode with Leah Amico.
To kick things off, can you tell us about the story of how you made your first USA Olympic team?
How I made my first Olympic team? Well, I was actually in college when they announced that softball would be in the Olympics for the first time ever. And so that became the dream and the goal. I was at the University of Arizona. We had just won our first ever national championship. And they said in 3 years, softball is going to be in the Olympics. And so then I actually was invited to a camp with 60 athletes, some women who had been representing Team USA at the Pan Am Games, at the World Championships, but there just was not an Olympic year at that point. And so I was invited to that top 60, and then I ended up making a team that was like a B team going to a Pan Am qualifier game, and then eventually got invited to the actual Olympic tryout. And then I was named one of 15 to the first ever Olympic team in 1996 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow, that's crazy. I want to kind of go into that just a little bit because it was not just new for you, but it sounds like it was new for everybody going into this. And so what were some of whether it was challenges or just new stuff that you went through during that, kind of during that whole process? Because again, it was probably new coach, new players, just that whole experience was probably new for everybody.
It was new. There was a USA team, so there are a lot of women who had been playing international ball. I think that was the biggest difference for me, was coming from collegiate, which at the time otherwise was the top. But then there was still this other level with international. It was just different. Some teams are not very good at all. Other teams are really, really good. China, Japan, Australia, always great teams, top in the world. But they had some different styles. And so what I learned through that, it was definitely different coaching, a different style completely. So I had to learn to come underneath that. That was hard. And some of the athletes actually had played for Ralph Raymond, who was our coach, much more at the time, old school mentality. He had been top, had gotten a lot of summer teams together that would have the top athletes year after year from around the nation. And so they always won. And so that's how he would configure his team. So training and preparation was a little bit different. But for me, being one of the younger athletes, I think the biggest thing was kind of coming under that USA softball standard. Now I'd won national championships at University of Arizona. But again, this was like a world standard. And so the other big thing I think was just the media attention, the eyes on us, the travel, kind of like dog and pony show, but in the best way possible. But really trying to be able to stay so focused in on what you're trying to do while still representing and being able to be there for the fans. That was different for USA softball for sure during that pre-Olympic tour and then heading into the Olympic Games, as well as the fact that it was here in the USA. There's a lot of support and celebration around that. So it also, I think, brought more of that media attention.
I love that. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, we're going to get more into kind of the Olympic side, the Olympics versus college and how those differ like on those big stages. But let's go into the next one.
Who are your biggest inspirations or mentors early in your softball career?
A couple of my teammates that I looked up to and learned from. I learned eventually to especially look to players who I felt like had same styles as that I did early on. Obviously, I respected other teammates and just so appreciated playing next to superstars. But I found out really quickly that I had to stick to my strengths in order to be successful. As well as my coach, Mike Andrea. I had great coaches growing up. I will say that I absolutely credit that to my success. The extra time, I had individual pitching coaches at a time back in the day where people just didn't do that very much. And then, was it putting in the extra time with my coaches. So all the way through, but especially my final coach at the University of Arizona, Mike Andrea, and he also coached me in my last Olympics in Athens, Greece. I learned that like up until then, like people would tell me about adjustments and they would tell me, what I needed to work on. But I feel like he allowed me to be the full student. He always gave a reason for the why behind the what. And I feel like with that, my knowledge of the game and expertise elevated in such a big way when it wasn't like, okay, well, I was talented and I just made adjustments. But now it's like, no, I had the whole picture. And I think that's very different than going in and just using your skills, being told to make little adjustments, but actually to understand the big picture as well as the little things.
Yeah, coaches are so important, but they also help create like pivotal moments, right, throughout your career. So at what moment did you believe that you could actually compete at a championship level or an Olympic level? At what point were you like, hey, you know what? All those people I look up to, I'm just as good as them, or I'm better than them, or I'm one of the best in the world, one of the top, 16 players for Team USA. Was there a moment that made you believe you could compete at that level?
There was a personal moment my freshman year at the Women's College World Series. We got to the finals, and I was just so happy to be there and be on this great team. And we were not really expected to win. We were the underdogs playing against UCLA and their superstar team, as well as their superstar pitcher, Lisa Fernandez, known internationally. I went on to win 3 gold medals with her for a reason. And I ended up getting the only hit in that game, but we had a runner on second who was on an air and moved over by one of our teammates. And we scored on that hit that I got up the middle on an 0-2 count. And I feel like, so we went on to win 1-0. And so winning the national championship, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. But then I was 18 at the time, but I feel like having that moment where I was able to compete against the best and then play with the best and get a big moment myself, I feel like gave me that extra boost. As well as I just would look down the third baseline, like you mentioned, Greg, and I'd see my coach and he had all the belief in me in the world. And I feel like that combination was like, why can't I? Why can't I? And I think it's so crucial because as athletes, it's very common to beat ourselves up. I did that plenty, but always because I felt like I could be better and I should be better. So there's that fine line between allowing that, negative mindset or beating yourself up to take you down or actually to propel you up higher. And I think that's when I would struggle and I would talk myself into greatness. It would be that push to say, do better, be better. You can be better. And so that moment for me was huge. But I will say real quick, when I was 14 and under, we won a national championship. We're best in the whole nation. At the time, I was a pitcher and I was like number 3 hitter. And one of my assistant coaches, he said, if softball ever makes it into the Olympics, she is going to be on that team. And for him to say that and later on to bring that back up to me, I was like, how did he see something in me at that age? Like I did not see that in myself.
Wow. I love that. What a cool moment. And, 1-0 base hit, scores the only run, College World Series. Pretty incredible. And so, yeah, I love hearing that. And then the big takeaway I think from it also is looking down at your coach at third base and knowing that they have the belief in you that like, hey, Leah's up now for a reason. She's on the mound right now for a reason. I didn't put her up there to fail, right? I put her up there to succeed. So I love that.
Mm-hmm. What was the difference in playing the College World Series and the Olympics?
Yeah, it was a big difference because in college, you're with people within 4 years of you. So obviously when I was a freshman, I was playing against women that were 3 to 4 years older than me. And then, you're representing your college team. And so it's such a big deal. Only 8 teams make it to that level. And so you compete all year and kind of in this stage of life where you're just like learning who you are as well as like at the time, competing, at the top level. And then the Olympic team, it's very different. It's international. You're representing your country, which to me, there's just no greater honor. It's such a bigger deal. And I feel like, again, you're really playing for that name on the front of your jersey more than ever. I mean, obviously in college you do that, but especially in the Olympics. And so, I think you want to you do this in college, but even more so, you want to make your family proud. You want to make everyone that's poured into you and be out there with that big purpose. And then I just think, the international game, it is different because, again, U.S. style is one style. Japan has a totally different style. So all we're training, and it's not until you get into those heated big moments that you're like, okay, like that's why it's a little harder to make those quicker adjustments against a team like that. And they practice 8 hours a day. And most teams, don't around the US ever. And so, there's just such an expertise there. And so it's just different. They speak different languages. That's very different. So there's so many different like nuances that I found when I went in, although I felt qualified and I felt like I deserved to be there at 21. And then I played in, multiple Olympics, and I retired when I was 29. I feel like it took me a little bit to kind of learn that international game. And I have heard top elite athletes from the collegiate game, even now, when they played at the World Championships. Jocelyn Allo, one of the best home run hitters ever, played for Oklahoma and has the record now in college. But she played this summer at the World Championships, and USA got second to Japan. And she realized, okay, there is an absolute difference. And now I feel like I'm going to be better prepared next time we face them.
You have the highest batting average at the College World Series. What are some keys or habits that help you walk in the biggest stages of your career?
Yes, I still hold that record for 30 years, which is a long time ago. And so I was able to hit 750. I went 9 for 12, had a couple sack bunts and a couple sack flies. But it was so much fun. And, I feel like it really is just every single day of preparation. Every day of preparation, it all adds up. And so it's the consistency. It's, being prepared. I think the previous Women's College World Series the year prior had given me that much more confidence. And since we won and I was able to face that top player, like I mentioned, so I felt really, really good going into that next Women's College World Series. As well as I just really feel like the higher the stage and the challenge, the bigger the challenge, I almost rose to a different level naturally, not because I put more pressure, because that's actually a lot of players do the opposite. They put extra pressure on themselves, and then therefore they don't live up to that, and they get tighter, which is the opposite of what we want to do. I think for me, in those big moments, the zoned in focus got so intense. And so that's what I would tell hitters, like, stay very, very consistent, keep it absolutely the smallest adjustments you're trying to make. And then you do not want to be thinking inside your body as a hitter. Like, I can't be thinking what my hands are doing or what my legs are doing. I need to be zoned in on that focal point where that pitcher is going to release that ball, and I need to see it better than I have before. And that's what would happen is I'd get to the Women's College World Series, and the ball would just almost seem like it was bigger. And 3 out of my 4 years, I actually led in batting average at the Women's College World Series. I hit over 500 twice, and then I hit 750 my sophomore year.
Not too bad, right? Not too bad. So in college, and even like with where he's playing now, it's very easy to go from like season to season. You have a season ends, you go into off-season training, you go right back into the season. But with the Olympics, you got that 4-year gap. And that's 4 more years of great college players. That's 4 more years of new people coming on. That's 4 years of growth. What did you do in between the Olympics to make sure that you continue to play at that high level, and that, you were always going to make the team and not have to worry about, there's someone else coming to take, there is always someone else coming to take your spot.
Yeah.
How did you maintain that consistency with, obviously you're playing games in those, within those 4 years, but what was kind of your thought process in between to stay at that high level?
Yeah, it was hard, actually. Being in college was easier going to the Olympics. See, I took a year off from college, went to the Olympics, came back my senior year. That next summer afterwards was pretty good because I just played a 60-game season, and then I went into all of our summer stuff. It was after that got hard, trying to figure out, okay, how do I maintain my level of being in shape, doing conditioning, weights, making sure I'm getting workouts, that I'm like maintaining that and continuing to build, as well as for me, what I did in between my first and second Olympics, because I was training on my own, I found men's pitchers to pitch to me. Men's fast pitch, the pitchers are really, really good, and their balls move really a lot, even more than women. And so I actually locally was able to find some people who were able. Now, luckily in travel ball and 18 under, one of our team was the best in the nation, and we had that. A man would pitch to us, and by the end of the season, no pitcher even seemed hard. And so that helped me and so much. I would only a lot of times have one teammate in the area that I worked out, but as much as we could, it just was always the priority. I will tell you, like, it always had to be first and foremost, and then everything else I could do and have fun. But the softball part, knowing I still wanted to be a part of Team USA, it had to be number one. Then I ended up, after my second Olympics, I ended up taking a year off and having a son. And then our child, like, was not long after I'd had my son. And so I got a personal trainer that, like, was even harder on me, and I got in the best shape of my life. And then on top of it, I would go out to a college at that point, and I would just, again, get all the reps over and over and over. And so I kept elevating, like, the people that were helping me train, who you have around you, and their knowledge to, like, see what you're doing and learning, is huge too. But do take it in. I'll tell you, Colt, like, that's one of the biggest things. A lot of players can hear information, but who are the ones that can receive it and put it into action? And it did get a lot harder, but I was absolutely prepared because I kept basically improving my level of training every single year.
What are some of your pregame rituals that helped you play at a high level for so long?
Oh, that's a good question. Here's the thing. I think you need to know how you are and your personality, because it's so different for all of my teammates and me. For me, I really just like to be with my teammates. I like to just kind of keep everything lighthearted. I know the people that wanted to listen to certain kind of music. I knew people I wanted to be with my teammates that they made me laugh. Like, I liked being really loose and relaxed so that I didn't start stressing out and feeling pressure. And so then once we got to the field, then it went into like a go mode. And, we had our routine of like how we warmed up. And so prior to the game for me, it was eat a good meal. It was make sure I got a good night of rest. And then it was stay loose, stay relaxed. Don't like be thinking too much into it. And then as soon as I get to the field, like, okay, now, because that idea is like just knowing like how to turn it on, when to. I knew what was coming, but again, I didn't want to overthink things when I'm not in action mode, right? If I'm sitting there stressing about the game that's coming up, what good is that going to do me? It's going to put extra pressure. But instead I would stay loose, relaxed, and I just know myself. That's what I like to do. And then I would get to the field, and then it was like, let's go. For me personally, everybody's different. For me personally, it was like, let's have fun. Like, we're warming up here. I'm hitting my spots. Let's have fun with it. What am I doing with my bat? And so that helped me to stay super, super loose and just play the game like, really just with passion, as opposed to like feeling pressure and tight and what a lot of athletes struggle with.
Yeah, and you forget sometimes you're playing a game, right? And so it still has to be fun, even though it's hard, even though it's your job, kind of at that level. Finding ways to introduce fun and stay loose is so important. And we're gonna switch gears for a little bit and talk about some of the stuff that you do now, helping athletes and leaders and professionals. And you've got this really cool system called the Gold Standard. And I'd love if you can kind of share what the Gold Standard is, what each of the letters stand for, and how, in this context, how maybe a young athlete, maybe in high school or college, can use the Gold Standard to help propel them in their career.
Yeah, I started thinking about how did I have all this success, which then propelled me to be able to work with ESPN and do radio for Westwood One Sports with the Women's College World Series and speak around the country and, travel and coach internationally. Like, so many opportunities opened up after the fact. And I looked back and I was like, again, physically, I played with some athletes that were way stronger, but there was like really like these certain things that were core pieces to why I was successful. And so I broke it down and I call it the Gold Standard, and G stands for goal setting. And I am such a big believer on you've got to know what you want and how then you can get to how you want to get there. And you've got to be able to then set a plan. And so G is goal setting, like, and really truly specifics. I think that's what helped me. I was like, no, I want this. I want to be on this team. I have a goal to go to college. Because then I built everything around that. O is overcoming obstacles or turning them into opportunities, which is huge. I realized that a lot of my success, and even after softball, came because I was able to say, hey, a lot of people in these situations, they get stressed out and they want to bow out. It's the opposite. I rise to the occasion and actually use it to go forward. How do you, make the best adjustments? Who are those players that come up in the biggest moments? Well, what about in life? Who can withstand like really hard circumstances, but come out better on the other side? It's available to everyone, but it's a lot. It has to do with our mindset. So when I talk about using obstacles as opportunities, I talk a lot about the mindset, confidence, belief, resilience, all those types of pieces. And then the L is the leadership piece. And I'm huge on who is your mentor? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you maybe mentoring? because I feel like at the levels I competed at, I came in, I was willing to learn kind of the culture from our seniors when I was at Arizona, from our elite, veterans on Team USA, and then I could build. Well, guess what? When I went into commentating, I was able to go in and use that leadership piece and say, okay, who can I gain information from? But a lot of people won't ask. A lot of people try to go in and they do it on their own. I'm going to tell you, you do not become an Olympian by going on your own. And then the last letter is D, which is really the dedication and determination piece, but like that discipline. All of that's connected. And it was the sacrifices, it was the daily commitments, it was being disciplined and showing up, not just when you want to, but every single day, no matter what. That, like, I became a mom and it became harder to train, but there were more juggling pieces. But every single day I found I had this family that would watch my son. I'd go drop him off. I'd head over to the, trainer. Then I'd go to the field. Then I'd come back and get my son. And I'm like, okay, now I'm mom. But I had to like make sure I had things in order, and I had to be really disciplined with it, or it would have fallen through the cracks. And so, to me, for athletes these days, goal setting, like write your goals down, like set big goals, and then see like, okay, it can change and they can move. I think it's so huge. I'll tell you, most Olympians had said, I'm going to be on that team at some point. And I know for a fact, had I not said that, I wouldn't have. Mindset, find ways, talk to people, So a lot of people, they just think, okay, this is how I'm wired. No, that's fine. We're all wired certain ways. But we can all grow in confidence. We can all grow in our mental strength. We can all grow in, dealing with adversity and how we like perceive it. Like perspective is huge. And then find leaders and mentors, people who who can help you the most, and then stay disciplined. So like those core pieces, I was like, and a lot of that's not even a skill set. Like a lot of that's actually choices. And so skills go on top of all that, but that is really the foundation.
Quick break to tell you all about a brand new partner that we have here on the Brolletts Podcast, and that is Fanatics. Yes, the global sports memorabilia platform Fanatics is now a partner here at Arete Shades, and I'm wearing my USA hat. And if you want to get some cool Team USA gear, support Leah, who is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist for Team USA, head on over to Fanatics right now using the link that's in the description. It's our special Brolletts link that's going to take you right over to Fanatics. It's going to get you the best deal on all Team USA stuff, or spring training's about to start, on all the new spring training hats or the baseball gear that you need to start your season right, all courtesy of the Brolletts Podcast. So hit that link. It's down below, thebrolletts.com/fanatics, or the link in the description. Check out everything that Fanatics has to get you ready to represent Team USA or your favorite baseball team this season. Shout out to Fanatics for being a great partner and supporter of the Brolletts Pod. Now let's jump back into this episode with Leah Amico. I want to dig deeper into the G part, the goal part. So I do a lot of goal setting workshops with their teams and some other teams as well. And as we set goals, like I get their paper back and it says, I want to hit better, right? Or I want to just throw more strikeouts, or they're just these very vague. And look, they're 11, 12, 13 years old, right? So, but at the same time, I think there's so much opportunity to improve those goals. And so when you think about goal setting, especially with, younger athletes, so we're probably talking like 11 to 16 here, what are some things or some techniques to set better goals so that they're not just hit better, right? And you and I both know, like, that means nothing, right? Hit better. Like, okay, what does that mean? More line drives, better batting average. Or like, so what are just some tips that you walk people through to set better goals?
Yeah, no, I think what you're saying, Greg, you just take it to the next steps. And so, okay, great. We want to hit better. Let's take that. So let's be more specific with that. How do we hit better? Okay, what's like what you just mentioned, like hit more line drives. Well, that's something I can measure. Can I go to the batting cage and measure that? I'll tell you, I coached pro softball this summer in Florida, and they, at the beginning, were popping everything up in the cage. Or again, it might have been a home run in their mind, but I was like, but it didn't translate into the game. They were outs. And so I said, how about in the game, we hit the back of the net and then you can lift from there, but hit the back of the net first. And so to me, like that's more what it is. So, and again, as players, you know what your strengths are. So maybe it's, for me, like, I'm at the Olympics and I knew I was struggling a little bit on the outside pitch I was pulling off. And so I said, now granted, I had the ability to set this up, but I said to my we had a men's coach that pitched to us pregame, and I said, hey, can you throw me some outside curveballs? I want to just work on staying in. Okay, so that in a sense would be my goal for that day. Like, how well am I hitting, this outside pitch? And so I feel like, and then through that, Greg, what happens is like you should start to, at a younger age, then maybe start to understand your strengths and your weaknesses, because I don't think a lot of players even know any of that. And so then when you're talking about pitchers, like, I want to make sure that I own the inside part of the plate. And I think what happens is you can almost make, not just, again, I want to pitch better this season and have a lower ERA. No. I want to get ahead. In this game, how many hitters did I get ahead of early in the count? How many first pitch strikes or swings and misses or whatever it is? I think what you just said to me, I think you need to take it another step. And I think also like switching things up on a regular basis and not just always, I want to hit better, but instead like, okay, I want to really make sure I stay inside the inside pitch and I'm not pulling around it and fouling it way off, but instead I'm staying through and really driving it down that right side or left side. I'm a lefty. So for me, I think just taking it deeper and further, because I agree with you. Like, I think you can have obviously the long-term big goals. I want to be a better hitter. And then again, you bring that back, but what's today? Something that I can work on. And when you start to do that, that absolutely is measurable, as well as it also allows you to say, okay, there's my plan part. Well, guess what? My plan part is, okay, I'm going to do this drill and this drill that's going to help set me up for that goal that I just set.
Yeah, I love that. Just going deeper, asking those other questions. And you're right, you have this longer term goal, hit better, make a college team, get a scholarship offer, whatever it is. But then what are the things that I need to do, at 13 years old, at 14 years old to get there? I love that. Really, really good advice.
Well, and now there's analytics that will show also. You might say, I want to improve my bat speed. Okay, well then what drills can I do with that? And you have hit tracks and, distance, and there's all those things, or even running, like I want to be able to, improve on my speed. Well, guess what? We can actually measure that. And so it's that idea with that, Greg, is just like, okay, I have these, but then how I need to now measure it and test it and then go from there.
As a first team academic All-American, how did academic excellence play a role in your athletic success?
100%. It played a huge role. I will tell you, school did not come easy for me. I did not have a great memory. I didn't really feel smart. But I worked so hard because I seriously just wanted good results. Actually, I have 3 sons, and my middle son, very similar. I see that inner drive. And although I homeschooled him up until high school, and he took a while to read, like it took him a little longer for him to really just read fluently. Always had great comprehension, but he became a straight A student in school because of the work ethic piece. So when you say that, for me, I personally feel that discipline that I had to put in the classroom, oh my goodness, I think it absolutely prepared me when I was out playing sports, which I loved to do. With school, it was not as fun. It was hard for me, but I saw the power of discipline and the striving for excellence in something that I didn't totally, love. I'd much rather be out there playing my sport. And then when I went out to my sport and I applied those same, fundamentals and foundations, oh my goodness, like that's what took me to the top. So I really believe because my biggest thing is like, what is your best? Like my best is going to be different than your best, but are you pursuing it and are you giving your best? Because I truly believe people that can, okay, over here, I don't really care. No, I'm not even going to try. But over here, I believe they're going to miss out on what that elite level looks like for themselves.
Yeah. So good. So important. And again, it's not comparing, right? It's not a comparison game. It's what is your best, and are you playing to those standards, which I think is really, really key. Want to switch gears as we start to wrap up here and talk a little bit about not just your career evolution, but also kind of the evolution of what's happening in sports today. We started this conversation by you talking about the fact that you were on the first ever Team USA, softball team. And now where, women's sports is going, with all the attention that it's getting, the money pouring in, these new leagues that are popping up. There's some really, really fun stuff happening, right?
Yeah. What are some of the biggest opportunities for girls in sports right now?
Some of the greatest opportunities is this really awesome, new pro league that's coming up with Athletes Unlimited, as well as there's also another group that has about 4 professional teams. So post softball, there's international opportunities for athletes to go overseas and to compete at a high level. I know players who did it in Italy this summer that I coached in our pro league here. Japan always has an amazing professional league. And then, obviously the college scholarship, that continues, I believe, to continue to grow and expand. There's also, I'm going to say tie this in because there's the TV side of it and the video part of it that also expands it. If there's a player who maybe didn't have that skill level and talent level, they can now still be a part of the game in a different way, right? In commentating and covering the game and using their knowledge and wisdom that they had if they maybe didn't have the physical abilities that some of the other athletes had. So I've seen that play out as well. So it's very, very exciting to see the game continue to grow and the excitement for it. I think the NIL, which is all sports, I know, but that's also a big deal because we're starting to see the Women's College World Series has grown tremendously. The numbers are bigger and better than they've ever been before. And I just believe that's going to also help the international game to continue. Now that we're hosting the next Olympics in LA 2028, I think it's going to help softball as well because we'll be back in the Olympics.
Yeah, so much opportunity. And I wanted to talk kind of about that second piece that you said is there's the athlete side, but now there's this whole content, personal brand side, which can also help you as an athlete. It can also extend your career post, being an athlete. I know you've taken this to heart. You post a lot of content. You're doing speaking, writing books, all of this. But what are some things that maybe you've learned or things that you're seeing with some of these younger athletes when it comes to creating content, building that personal brand? They want to get into media. Like that's a new career, right? Like there's podcasts, there's commentating, you don't have to wait for ESPN to give you a job, which is great, right? We all want to get there. But if you want to start talking about softball, you can just get on a camera and start talking about softball. And so just love to kind of hear what you're seeing from younger players, some of the trends, because there is so much opportunity today that wasn't there when you first started playing.
There really is. And, I love just, again, the publicity of it and the, availability for, like you said, anyone. And I agree, like just being able to go after the passion that you have and not having to, again, be the only one picked or that tiny little percentage, right? That's like the superstars. And I think it's huge to have that opportunity. And I think, what happens is you're, again, I think in college, you're kind of figuring out like which direction I want to go. What do I, who am I? And I feel like, people are able to then have their own personalities and do that through social media and to be able to have that personal branding. The biggest thing that I would say to everyone, Greg and Colt, I would tell people just be yourself, like whatever's natural. I think what gets hard and challenging is there's so much thrown at us right now and people are thinking, well, they're doing it. I want to make money. I want to do this. And then you start getting sidetracked. And if it's not natural and if it's not organic, I think really, if anything, you could actually like make everything watered down. And so I think being really authentic is huge because as an athlete, like softball was number one. And because I was able to reach the top and then these other things came with that. There are some athletes who are figuring it out. Hey, I can keep softball number one, but I can do a little bit over here. And then I'll be honest, there were a couple Oklahoma athletes that we had tried to tie into some, opportunity we were doing. And they were very honest, like, listen, I don't have time for that. I was like, okay, I respect that. They're the best in the nation right now. They're continuing to chase their goals and dreams. And I respect them saying, I have to be really smart as a student, as an athlete, what fits into this that's natural. And I can actually juggle with still, living out excellence. And so, I'm excited to see, I think just again, content, whatever is natural when you tie it into what you're already doing. I think it's awesome to have outlets that way.
Yeah, I think that's such a key note is that you have to always keep the main thing, right? Like if you're an athlete, you need to be an athlete first and put everything you can into it. But maybe instead of 4 hours of Fortnite, at the end of the night, maybe that's the time to create that video or create that post. But like you said, it's doing what's natural to you. If it is painful to get in front of a camera and shoot a quick promotional video for an NIL deal or whatever it is, maybe that's not the thing for you. So find what works for you. And I think you're going to have the most success with it. And let's, as we get to wrap up here today, we're going to wrap up with some rapid fire questions. Cole put these together. They're usually really, really fun. And so I'll let him take it away and get into our rapid fire round.
What was your favorite pregame meal?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. I'm going to say eggs and toast. A big breakfast. I'm picturing myself with Arizona and us having like multiple games. Back in the day, we'd have like double headers. And so I want a big, nice, good breakfast that I could, get my protein.
Favorite book to help young athletes develop a strong mindset?
Okay, well, this is old school, but it's called Heads Up Baseball. We used it for our Olympic team, actually. Ken Revisa, amazing. We worked with him as well. And I just loved all the principles in it. And I know there's other stuff out there nowadays. But for me, like, I feel like to this day, I could pass that on to people. And I feel like very, positive that they could walk away and if they apply it, it will change them.
Which Olympic city was the most memorable and why?
Very good one. Athens, Greece, because that's where the Olympics began. And I played for my college coach, Mike Candrea, in that Olympics. We went 9-0. We scored 51 runs, only got 1 run scored against us. And that's my team right there on the cover of Sports Illustrated. That was my most memorable overall.
If you could go back and give your 12-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
If I could tell my 12-year-old self advice, I would just say, it's all going to work out. Continue to give all that you have, and the struggles will be worth it. I think the hardest part is feeling at times like you're not good enough if you're not living up to your expectations or somebody else's. And I feel like those moments where I just doubted and questioned and even thought about giving up, I'm so glad I didn't, but I would just tell myself it's going to be okay in those hard times.
What was the coolest piece of sports memorabilia you've ever received or have gone through your career?
I'm going to say the cereal box that I was on the back of in the 2000 Olympics. I was on the back of the Kellogg's Crisp Fix, Golden Crisp Fix cereal box, and my picture was on it by myself. And that to me was the best experience.
That is real cool.
Who was your childhood sports hero and why?
Oh, that is a good one. Oh, well, when I was little, the LA Dodgers were everything. And so when I think of the LA Dodgers, I think of Oral Hershiser. I think of Kirk Gibson. Probably, you know what? I don't know why, but that's cemented when they won the World Series into my mind. I think I was in junior high, and I'll never forget my dad just going crazy and just the clutch walk-off hit. And so I love that you don't have to always be the biggest name that there is. When you have the opportunity to come up big, and it's your moment, do it. Give everything we have, and sometimes you're going to be the hero. And so I just love the Kirk Gibson story.
Do you have any of your own sports cards? And if so, which one's your favorite?
Oh, that's a good question. I do. They actually did some cards for us when I was on Team USA, but they only did a couple, so I can't say which. Wait, oh, you mean other people? Of me. Okay. Afterwards, I was like, oh, wait, maybe I got that question wrong. My husband has a bunch of sports cards of former MLB players. Yeah, so they did a couple of us during our Olympic runs, and I think they did my 2000 team and then my 2014. So I will say my 2004 Olympic year.
That's awesome. Super cool. Leah, thank you so much for doing this today. Before we head out, anywhere special you want to point people to learn more? I know you've got a really cool book that we want people to check out. You post a lot on social media. Where can we send people who got some cool stuff from today's interview?
Yes, my website, leahamico.com, LeahAmico.com. I do have my book on there, The Gold Standard, 14 Ways to Live a Life of Excellence. And I also have a link to my podcast, The Gold Standard Podcast with Leah Amico, where I actually interviewed Olympic athletes, a lot of my teammates, other sports, professional athletes. And there's just some really, really cool stories. Shea Hillenbrand is the one that stands out to me for sure. MLB all-star, just a phenomenal story of overcoming a lot. And so that my podcast is also on my website. So check out my website if you want to learn more.
Love that. LeahAmico.com. Get the book, The Gold Standard. Subscribe to the podcast, The Gold Standard. Leah, thank you so much for doing this on behalf of Colton and myself. This is it's been a lot of fun learning all about your Olympic journey, college journey, and now how you're helping people to live up to those gold standards.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope that you guys continue to inspire and encourage young athletes to go out and just be their best, because the journey is amazing, and no matter where you end up, you're going to just grow as a person as you reach your sports dreams.